We're almost done. We're going to do 2 more problem solving to wrap up this fillable bowl. It says one fruit salad recipe calls for 1/2 cup of sugar. Another recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. Since 1 tablespoon is 1/16 cup, how much more sugar does the first recipe require? So we know that 1 tablespoon is 1/16. So 2 tablespoons would be 2/16. So this is the same thing as 2/16 cups. So the first one calls for 1/2. The second one calls for 2/16. Since how much more tells me to subtract. So I have 1/2 for the first minus the second, which is 2/16. I want to make a common denominator, so I'm just going to go the easy route here and make 2 into 16. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom here by 8. So 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, and I've got 8/16 minus 2/16. And 8 minus 2 is 6. Keep my denominator. 6/16 can be reduced because they're both even. 2 goes into both of them. So I'm going to divide top and bottom by 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And so the first recipe calls for 3/8 cups more sugar than the second. So again, on this one, I first converted 2 tablespoons to cups. 1 tablespoon, 1/16, 2 tablespoons, 2/16. Then I had to figure out how much more, which is a subtracting word. So I took the first one minus the second one, and that gave me my difference, or I subtracted, and then I reduced and got 3/8 cups of sugar. So the first recipe calls for 3/8 cups more. And then on the bottom down here it says Ned solved the following problem, 3/4 plus 2/3, and stated that the answer was 5/7. Is Ned correct or incorrect? Explain. Sometimes I can know really quickly if this is correct or not. Other times it's easier for me to just do the problem myself, 3/4 plus 2/3, to figure out if the person is right or not. So 4 and 3 have a common multiple of 12, so I'm going to make them both have a common denominator of 12. 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 times 4 is 8, and 3 times 4 is 12. 9 plus 8 is 17/12. This is an improper fraction, so it needs to be made into a mixed number. So I'm going to do 12 goes into 17 once with 5 left over, and my denominator here is 12. And so my answer is 1 5/12. Ned is 5/7. In this case, I would say he's incorrect. And if I try and figure out his reasoning or his logic, it appears to me that he did 3 plus 2 is 5, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So he just added the denominators and added the numerators. But when we add fractions, we need to create a common denominator. And so I would say Ned is incorrect because he added the numerators and denominators. When we add fractions, there must be a common denominator. The correct answer is 1 5/12. So a lot of times when you write your reasoning for why someone is right or wrong, especially if they're wrong, it's good to put in what the right answer should be. So I tried to be really thorough in what I thought that he did, what he should have done instead, and then what the correct answer should be. So when you're doing that explanation, those are kind of good rules to follow. Make sure that you say what he did wrong, what he should have done instead, and then what the right answer should have been if he was correct. And so you can see my work here. Make sure that you get this response copied so you have a good example to look back on in your notes. and that next time you explain, I need to write what they did wrong, what they could have done better, and then what the correct answer should have been.